Happy Thursday, folks. I am here. Peter is here, even though Peter's in the Arctic, in the ice cold Arctic, and I'm in snowbound Buffalo with a drift that comes up to my freaking jaw in the middle of my driveway. So that we're battling those conditions, but we're fighting through that give you a.
It's actually not bad here. It's like I think it's up to 15. It's up to 15 now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you'll love this. You'll love this, Russ. The forecast calls for us to be up to 50 degrees on Monday.
Yeah, same here. We're going to be like 51, 52.
So it's going to be a swing of almost 60 degrees within 3 or 4 days.
Oh, I'm only going to be minus 20.
Okay.
But Friday I'll be minus 12.
There you go.
Oh boy. They're having a heat wave.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
he is the king of cold right now.
Super Bowl Sunday is always a thing where I have some friends over, and yes, I have friends, and they come over to watch the game. We order some pizza and wings. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
Well, it's gotten to be a more expensive tradition as we've gone along, and this is how much. And I will not say the name of the
say the name.
No, of the pizza place. Well, should I? Do you think I should?
It's up to you.
They're mob connected.
Your heart, Mike?
They're mob connected, so they used to be.
Snitches get stitches. Don't do it, man.
Very, very good pizza, very good product, and we used to order from them all the time on Super Bowl Sunday, a sheet and 50 wings, because it was 4 or 5 people, and that was enough food to get us through, and everybody to take a little home. And I stopped by this place a couple days ago to get a couple slices with the weather being bad. And, I just said, okay, by the way, how much for a sheet and 50 wings for Super Bowl Sunday? First of all, they jack up the prices for Super Bowl Sunday. That's number one on my you're on my shit list meter. Yeah. Second of all, when I asked the price, they come back with $80 American. For a sheet pizza and 50 barbecue wings, $80 American.
Here's what you do.
That seems a little steep.
Yeah, you hold up your middle finger. You go and get a 5-layer dip, some chips, some crab ragoon, and you say, you know what? We don't have to do pizza and wings.
We're gonna do pizza and wings. We're just gonna do it at another place, which the price is basically half the price. I mean,
I'm gonna tell you something worse. On Twitter, Del Giorno, the frozen pizza company, did a sponsored poll that said which of the 3 types of their pizza should you get for the Super Bowl. And here is my thought. Look, we all eat frozen pizza, and that's fine. I'm not condemning you for doing that. I do it too. I may not eat the low-level frozen pizza, but I eat it. The idea is, for the Super Bowl, if I'm having a party and I'm inviting over friends, why in the world am I making frozen pizza? Because then they're going to just say I could do that at home.
I would rather
for selling that pizza.
I would rather eat the cardboard box from the other pizza that I get than the DiGiorno pizza.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't matter how much booze you have at that point. If you tell everybody you have Del Giorno pizza, they'll leave him.
Peter, I don't know how that advertisers are liars, because how anybody can say to and have a straight face that they say, I thought this was regular pizza, not frozen pizza.
Yeah. You know what they use? The key to pizza is dough. That's the key. Any moron, dough, and then second is sauce. And after that, it's open game.
But there is a way to make the dough. Like you A, have to have the right dough, but B, there is a way where you see the guys spinning it and everything. There is a method to it.
No, absolutely. But you need quality dough in there, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, you can jazz up a frozen pizza. We do it all the time. Sure. We buy these cheap frozen pizzas for my kids, right? Okay, you come back from basketball, you're starving, blah, blah, blah. Okay, throw in a frozen pizza, throw some better cheese on it, throw some better pepperoni on it, and you're off and running.
Oh yeah,
They don't care.
I mean, I like okay.
And clearly, your kids are second-class citizens in that house, but that's okay.
Well, I don't need to go and spend $40 on good Santa Lucia pizza here. Like,
No, I honestly, because even frozen pizza, the prices have gotten ridiculous. You go to the store and it's like $8.99 for a frozen pizza that's the size of a small. What I do is I get those real cheap like Celeste pizzas that are like $1.25, and then I put more cheese and toppings on it, and they're pretty good.
Not a bad idea. I don't get that though. I usually go a notch or two above, and I'll spend the $9. I don't care. But if I'm getting like a good like organic 3 cheese or spinach and cheese, something like that. Amy's has a good one. There's a bunch of good ones, or even a lot of companies own brands now. You can get organic for about that $8-9. That's fine because a regular pizza's costing you like 15 anyhow.
Yeah, so I mean, but never try to tell me that there is a brand. I've never in my entire life had a slice of frozen pizza where I thought, wow, that's as good as.
There's no such thing.
I call bull crap on that.
You know what the mark of good pizza is? Honestly, this is the thing. Like, I mean, I know I shouldn't wade into the pizza debate.
You're getting into waters here, Peter.
I understand you guys take this stuff really seriously. But the mark of a good pizza is how good it tastes when you pull it out of the fridge the next morning and you're side.
No, that's true.
If you're gonna have eggs on toast or a couple cold slices of pizza, that's your benchmark right there.
That's fair. I rarely eat cold pizza. I still heat it up because I have a stone, even if it's for breakfast. But you're right. If it's good cold, it's good pizza.
Yeah, I agree. And the my favorite place in Buffalo, and I've taken but I'll promote them because they're really good. Bocce Club Pizza. Their pizza, they have the great sauce, and I always ask, get a pizza with extra sauce. And the next morning,
why? Hold on. Why extra sauce?
Because most places don't put enough sauce for a pizza.
Really? I mean, the thing is, if you put too much sauce.
They don't put too much. Extra sauce is just enough. Regular sauce.
No, just hear me out. In your mind, it is. But if you put too much, what happens is when the cheese has the drip off that it inevitably is going to have for oil, then it's going to be a little slidey in the box and it's going to take a while. Like to eat it hot, it's going to be a mess. Like the fold over is not going to work as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, this is not New York style pizza, so you don't fold it over, but it doesn't slide off. It's not so much sauce that it's really saucy and gets gooey or gets I mean this.
Yeah, if we ordered a pizza together, I would do half. I would let you do your half extra sauce. I would 80/60 the other extra sauce.
I don't know how you could do extra sauce on a New York style pizza.
Well, I'm just pointing out that
on a New York style you can't. On a New York style you can't because there's barely sauce on a New York style pizza. It's almost
there's
like
just enough. They make that ring of it and then they spread it out. And
one non-hockey sports note before we start. Rumors are, Russ, this morning that Bryce Harper is talking to the San Diego Padres. So I mean, talk about potentially ruining your career.
He's not going to do that. Do you not understand what Scott Boras is doing?
Oh, I understand. He's looking for somebody to jumpstart the market.
This is like closing time at the bar, and really, there's nobody who wants to take Bryce Harper for that contract. So now he's going to other places that are willing to interview him and say they're interviewing him. You will never hear an offer from the San Diego Padres for how much money they didn't offer Bryce Harper, guaranteed.
Well, they did sign Hosmer last year, and that turned out to be wasted money. And then they're trying to compete with the Dodgers, but
I just I'm just again sick of the whole situation. I can't believe that these guys might actually let like spring training open and they may not be signed, and that's disgusting. And if I were the commissioner, I would come out and just rip them, even though I can't do anything about it. I would rip them.
The interesting thing now, and we'll start after this, is that there are rumors out there that Machado and Harper may take 1 or 2 year deals at high money, at high AAV. Like I've heard Machado maybe taking a 2 year deal at $40 million per. because he doesn't see offers out there. He doesn't see the 10-year offer out there. All he's seeing is 6 or 7 years at a lower amount, and he wants to make as much.
I'm not paying a guy $40 million to hit 230. I'm not.
Well, I don't think Machado is going to hit 230.
No,
but
Machado will hit 300, but he's not going to hustle to first. Like, neither of these guys, it is amazing to me. Neither of these guys are all-time players. Now, Machado probably could be a Hall of Famer because he's on his way. I don't know. Bryce Harper, I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. He's not much better than Mark McGwire. He's a run producer, yes. He gets better. I would say his RBIs are better than McGwire, but otherwise, other than being clean, he's not much different.
I'd like to see Bryce Harper in Yankee Stadium with that right field porch, but we're never going to see that anyway. All right.
Here's the thing, though, about like baseball contracts. What blows my mind is the money is so vast that you can take a 2-year contract at 40 per. And okay, yes, you're not hitting the home run of the hundreds of millions of dollars contract, but how much do you need? How much money do you need to survive? If you're getting $40 million over 2 years, how much of that more do you need? You could, if you're that good, go win a championship.
I agree. I
don't get it because the money is so insane.
I always say that. I always say, if you like, this is why Bryce Harper should stay with the Nationals. If you believe you're that good and worth that much, take their $300 million and make them a champion.
But here's the example of why. The Yankees offered Robinson Cano, who had won a World Series with them in 2009. They had offered him a 7-year deal at $25 million per. It was a respectable offer for a guy.
Taken it.
And he should have taken it because he would have stayed in New York. He loved New York. Instead, he was represented by Rock Nation, by Jay-Z. And Jay-Z found him a 10-year offer with Seattle at almost $30 million bucks. And he took the extra 3 years, and he took the extra few $1 million a year, and he never did anything for the Mariners. He got busted for steroids, and now the Mariners.
Now he's a Met, so shut up, Mike.
No. And now the Mariners are paying 3/4 of his salary and sent him back to the Mets, who the only reason they took him is because they're getting him for 25% of the price.
It's like the Mets when they got Elliot Maddox. All right, let's move on.
Okay. Hello, Hockey World. Today is January 31st, 2019.
I'm Peter Tessier up in the deep polar vortex.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello under a snow blanket in Buffalo, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We'll start with the always entertaining Columbus Blue Jackets, because I just saw this comment. It was tweeted to us, or a message to us from Anthony Mangione, one of our frequent temporary co-hosts. Apparently, John Tortorella said his team played so poorly against the Buffalo Sabres that he told reporters his team has no balls. Said they watched the tape of this morning and called the effort against the Sabres embarrassing. Now, they lost, I think it was 5-4 to the Sabres. And the Sabres, they lost 1-0 to Dallas last night, but the Sabres are only 3 points behind Columbus. And it's a 10-team race in the East. But let's concentrate on the Blue Jackets now.
I watched some of that game.
Well,
so did I.
40 minutes ago, Tortorella just said this in Winnipeg. It's a good team that we're playing, and it was a god-awful team that I coached the other night. Hopefully we'll answer the proper way. Torts was then asked if he feels the team feels the same way. They better, or they'll get their ass kicked. Like,
okay, but all right, so let's just dissect this a little bit. They're great quotes.
I love Torts.
But let's dissect this. So their compete level wasn't as good as Buffalo's the other night. That is true. And actually, I forget, was it Carter Hutton that was in net for Buffalo? No, it was Allmark.
No, it was Hutton.
Oh, it was Hutton. Okay, yeah, and Hutton let up a softie too. He did, because I saw one that he definitely should have stopped that went under his leg.
And then, like 10 seconds later, they came down and Bobrovsky let in a softie where it slid over the goal line. So but this is typical John Tortorella when he wants to shock the life out of his team or into his team. It goes one way or the other to get him ready for what he deems as the playoff run. And we're noticing now that Torts is starting to leave because things are getting
pressure's starting to heat up.
The rubber's hitting the road here.
Yeah, the rubber's hitting the road. The expectations are high now. There's a lot of players not performing up to his expectations and maybe ours. But the idea is this. This is Tortorella basically amping up it's my way or the highway speech. And I got to tell you, these days, it's not a guarantee that it works anymore. It used to work.
Yeah. No, I mean that may be the case, but you know, he's got a few tools in his tool bag and he's gonna use them. But I mean, it's not a coincidence that this is coming up in the wake of the discussion that happened between Daniel Milstein and the Blue Jackets regarding Panarin. Apparently Panarin got booed during that game. I didn't see that much.
I heard it. I didn't hear it in the game. I heard that same report. Now
this is the thing, and I was telling you guys before we started recording that I was listening to Pierre LeBrun and Darren Driedger on TSN radio out of Toronto, and they were essentially saying that the phone for Jarmo Kekalainen has not stopped ringing ever since that news came out, and I can understand why.
Maybe he changed his number. I mean, that is possibility.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's got a new plan with
came to his senses
with T-Mobile or something. but just I mean, you look at the situation with the two players that they have, Peter, and Bobrovsky has some no trade, no move protection, and Panarin doesn't. And with the news of Panarin coming out, I mean, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I think it's starting to gain a little more momentum here, is the fact that I just can't see Columbus keeping Panarin for a chance for what I think is a decreasing chance of them having a run in the playoffs. And what if they're borderline just to make the playoffs? What if they're in the wild card race and they're 2 or 3 points ahead and they miss the playoffs? I mean, that's talk about worst case scenario and unmitigated disaster. They miss the playoffs and they keep Bobrovsky and they keep Panarin and they lose them for nothing in the summer. That's a cluster.
That is a chance. There is that chance. There's no question.
This is the risk, right? If you're sitting comfortably in third in the Metro, you're probably okay, but no one's comfortable right yet, right? Like, and that's the challenge. I wouldn't want to be Jarmo right now. He's got 2 time bombs, and they're going to go off, but no one knows where. Therefore, you don't know the damage that's going to happen when they go off. He's got to try and find a way to diffuse them. And he's got two dates. The trade deadline or before July 1st. Right? Like that's it. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to be him. This is totally different. If you're okay, who would you rather be right now? Kyle Dubas with Marner and Matthews, Kevin Cheveldayoff with Connor and Laine, or Jarmo with Panarin and Bobrovsky.
I mean, I don't even think that's close.
Exactly, because that's how precarious it is for him with the stakes there.
The one Winnipeg is second worst in that conversation.
Yeah, the one I'd want to be least is Jarmo. The one I'd want to be most is probably Dubas, and not because I'm a Toronto. No. But the thing is, from every indication that they're very close on getting Matthews extended, and I don't believe, in an offer sheet scenario that Marner will sign an offer sheet to leave Toronto unless they're completely lowballing him, and I don't think they would be doing that. So
if there is ever an offer sheet scenario, it's going to Matthews, so you lock him up first.
Right.
Marner's a local kid. It's his dream to play for the Leafs. He's playing with his boyhood hero Tavares. It's a storybook ending until he has a blood clot and never plays again. Like, I don't know.
Wow. Geez, Peter going dark. Usually it's me.
Sorry, that's for all the Leaf haters out there. Sorry, cousin Eddie.
So I will say this though. We should talk about Laine a little bit because I did get a good glimpse of him the other day.
Yeah. Let's go because I wrote about him today and some challenges.
To finish this conversation out, this is the hardest scenario in the NHL right now to figure out what is going to happen with the Blue Jackets and how will they do in the playoffs? And this is something that probably bothers Torts because he really doesn't have a ton of control in this. And this may be Torts may be trying to run his guys now extremely hot to see if he thinks they could play without Bobrovsky and Panarin. He's probably just trying to see what extra juice he can get out of some of his guys.
Yeah.
That's my read.
Yeah, because the closer they get to being sort of teetering on the, on the playoff, being on the playoff bubble, then I think it just throws the whole situation in Columbus into chaos, because then Jarmo is going to really have to make, if they're firmly entrenched in the playoffs, then he can say, okay, I'm going to keep Panarin. I know I'm probably going to lose him, but we're going to take a run. Everybody wants this team to win a first round. We need to. But if they're teetering on the brink, they cannot, in any right mind, keep Panarin.
Of course they can, Mike.
They can, but they're dumb if they do, Russ. Well, they're dumb.
We have to see how that plays out. I can't say that yet.
Right. Right now, you've got Columbus at 59 points with 49 games. They're in the second wild card. They are 1 point behind Pittsburgh and Washington. So, right now the division is 4 points apart for the top three spots and the second wild card. And Buffalo is at 56 and Carolina is at 54. So there's a little bit of a cushion, but not a lot. And
not a lot. Carolina's made up some ground. I will give them credit.
Yeah, we'll play a little Ask the GM type of game later in the show. But let's go to the Jets because first let's talk about Laine, because I watched a lot of that Winnipeg-Boston game, and that was a really entertaining game with some fights and some physical aspect to it, Peter. And the one thing that right after the game I realized was that Laine played 10 and a half minutes and didn't look really that engaged in that game.
1 minute in the second period. Just over a minute 4, I think, in the second period, too. He got benched. Laine, the people, okay, I wrote about this today, so if you go on to HockeyBuzz.com, you can sort of look at some things in there, a little more numbers detail. So I won't even bother getting into some underlying numbers issues, because it's all in the block. Go to the block.
Okay.
The issue at hand here with Laine is he culpable, or is the situation he's in the problem? And the situation is, why will Paul Maurice not break up Wheeler and Scheifele, the dynamic duo of the Jets, the straw that stirs the drink? Put it however you want. He will not break them up. So he won't move Laine up and move Wheeler down or Wheeler over or something. He just won't do it. But what happens is he keeps recycling things. And what he's done to put Ehlers back as healthy, the only thing he does is he uses the left wing position with Scheifele and Wheeler almost as a reward tool. Oh, you're going well? Okay, you get to go play up with these guys.
Yeah.
And, you're not, okay, well, you're going to go down. So he's just moving Ehlers and Connor up. So since Ehlers has been out, they moved Jack Roslovic up, and they've got Laine on his off wing, which is the left side. The real interesting thing about this is, okay, so that's fine. So Roslovic in there. Roslovic has a lot of tools, but he's being forced into areas where he's not quite ready yet.
He's not quite ready. I saw him play the other day. He's not
there, is he, Russ? He isn't. No. He can get there.
Yes.
But he's not there.
Right.
So the one guy that they won't move, who is the guy who also stirs the straw that stirs the drink on the Jets in possession, is Matthew Perreault. If you move Perreault up to play with Little and Laine, you've got two guys who can get the puck, one who's incredibly good at puck retrieval. He's the best on the Jets. And then Laine can do his thing. But until you figure out until you get through to Laine about how he has to play as an individual, where he has to be, you need to support him, or you're going to have to sit there and go, we're not getting the most out of this talent. And yes, his talent is fairly one-dimensional right now. Let's not go and pretend, he's just having a bit of a bad run with this, that, and the other thing. No, it's pretty one-dimensional. He's a scorer. But for scorers to score, a whole bunch of other things have to happen. And I think all the comparisons to Ovechkin and stuff are a little unfair. Ovechkin's a scoring savant. Like he's like Phil Kessel. Like, there are these guys who do things in spite of themselves, right? Like, and Ovechkin's a physical specimen too, comparatively to Laine. So yes, he's got a shot. Yes, he can snipe, but he doesn't have any of the physical attributes that Ovechkin has in his toolbox. So now you've got to find a way to get him to do things or get him the puck so you can use that until you get him to change. And players don't normally change mid-season, right? They don't all of a sudden, their game doesn't radically shift. It takes an off season to work on stuff and change the way your stride works, change the way you look at the ice and move. So why doesn't that happen? So yeah, Laine is not playing well. He's being and he's starting to get some attention, and fans are noticing it. One of the guys in 1290 yesterday came on and said, he goes, I am tired of Patrick Laine's problems being blamed on Brian Little because that's who he plays with. It's really interesting. Like it's definitely a debate point, and Laine's he's got to see this, that he's got to wear some of this on his shoulders and recognize doing the same thing and hoping it changes isn't enough.
Okay, so in the game against Philly, he played almost 20 minutes. He played a lot of power play. That's why he played almost 20 minutes. He had 6 shots on goal. He was a -3. But what I noticed on the ice was a lack of confidence. He would get the puck, and if he didn't quickly shoot it, he almost didn't know what to do with it. He wasn't making any passes. His passing was bad. Like, it was just legit awful. And so I think it's more than just being engaged at this point. He is 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making bad decisions with the puck.
Yes, he's making bad decisions with the puck.
Let's not sugarcoat it.
No, that's true. And that's where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So, but you can't really bench him, right? Because if you bench him, it's not really going to help him.
But if a fourth liner is making bad decisions, you're benching him, or you're taking him out and swapping him in. The Jets are missing Ehlers and they're missing Bufflin, 2 play drivers. So you need to find a way to get the guy who knows how to put the puck in the net.
But that's why you can't bench him.
That's why you can't bench him.
If you bench him, you'll have a David Quinn lineup in there.
Yeah. Right. So you've got to adjust your roster, but Maurice seems unwilling to change anything.
He's always been stubborn. Always.
Exactly. And this is the controversy right now.
And he probably wants Laine to sort of mold himself the way he imagines him to be more of a two-way player, not be as much of a liability defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, but you need him to continue to score goals. And it's similar to what Babcock was doing in Toronto. Whenever Nylander would have bad giveaways over the last few years, or even Marner at a point last year, he put them on the fourth line. They didn't belong on the fourth line.
I'll tell you what I would do. Why not have Connor with him? Connor is fully capable of getting guys going. He's a great passer. He has great vision, and Laine could feed off of him.
Yeah. So I took a look at that, and let me just look at it because I put it up in the blog. When those two are together, Russ, so when it's not that great, it really doesn't work. Like, there's something there that doesn't work, and I'm not sure.
Well, maybe it's whoever the center is. It might.
And so it goes back to you go back to Brian Little. That's why I say Little's game is changing a little bit. He's getting a little long in the tooth, so to speak, at 30 years old or whatever. But that's why I'm saying bring in a guy like Perreault, who has that aspect to his game of getting the puck and he can get the puck and get it out while other guys get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And ironically, I
don't think they need an expensive playmaker. I think they just need a guy who was pass first. That's what they need.
Well, that's
exactly.
That's what
Blake Wheeler.
That's what Ray Ferraro was saying. Because he made some comments after the Jets Bruins game. And one of the things he says he thinks Little's still a good player, but he's not enough of a playmaking center that he thinks that the Jets need. And he says, Stastny was that to a certain extent, but his speed was not up there, and they really need somebody to be a player between Scheifele and between Little that could provide that playmaking aspect. I would assume for Laine, because they need Laine to score goals. The other thing he said is that Laine's slump right now, in a way, might be in a backhanded way, might be a good thing for the Jets, because right now Laine has no leverage whatsoever to be asking for an 8-year max deal at $10 million.
Don't kid yourself on that one. I was with Ray right up until that point. Like, to me, that's the least of it, because you know what? Even if he doesn't have the season he had last year, his agent's not just going to say, "Oh yeah, we'll shave off $2-3 million off the offer because he didn't have a great year." That's not going to happen.
Well, no, and not on an 8-year deal. But what may happen is a lot of these teams, we're seeing it with Matthews, we're seeing it with Marner, we're seeing it with some of the other RFAs. Teams more than likely are going to go shorter because it's going to be cheaper. And maybe that's the way the Jets will go. Maybe they'll go 5 years. Maybe they'll go 6 years with Laine, because maybe they're not sure of what exactly they have.
Yeah,
they know what they have. They got a guy with an elite shot. He's the 20-year-old version of Alex Ovechkin, except Ovechkin took longer to get into that slump mode. And when Ovechkin was in that slump mode, the same talk happened. But eventually he broke out of it. And again, he's had 3 or 4 great seasons since then. Guys go in slumps. It happens.
Yeah. Like right now, Laine, I think his last 15 games is shooting 5%. Right. Like, so there's some of that there too. Like, he's had some looks. Like, he hasn't not had looks. He's just not shooting. He's just not getting luck. But there's other aspects to his game that have to improve.
Have they changed where he sits on the power play?
They moved him into the low slot where Scheifele was for a bit. And they moved Scheifele out. And so one of the things that Scheifele's much better at in the Laine is he doesn't need the wind up or the space because he's not as lanky, right? So, but it changed how teams defended against him, and it worked for a little bit. Now they moved him back. I think one of the things with Laine is that he's thinking, well, someone's just going to thread a pass to me, and teams know that if we can just take that pass away.
Right, he can't create for himself.
He's got to move a little bit higher. I've suggested that he needs to move a little higher up to the top of the circles and over to the center a little more, so that pass can be a little quicker.
Well, yeah, I mean, because
but remember, he can't just be static, and that's what's
his spot. His spot has always been the left half boards, moving up to the point for that one timer. I remember him scoring that one game against the Leafs where he scored the hat trick. He scored all 3 goals from that spot. So
what he probably needs, and again, this is a lot to get Laine going, is Wheeler on one side, Connor on the other, because these are guys that are really good passers, but also draw attention to themselves and players, and then can get him for his open shots. Like, I didn't see enough rotation on the power plays that I even liked it when they played and lost against Philly.
Well, Peter, look,
that was a bad game. I mean, that was just everybody in the locker room knew it. They couldn't wait to get out of Philly. They knew that was a bad game, but now, is it becoming just a bad system? It could be.
Let me ask you this, Peter, because I mean, this will sort of lead into our playing the GM game that we've been doing. Because an interesting thought, and I read, I think it was a Pierre LeBrun piece in The Athletic about the potential of a sort of a war between Nashville and Winnipeg. Whereas Nashville has got some cap room to make a move, and they probably are going to try to get themselves one more scoring forward to do what Winnipeg did last year with Stastny. Give up a prospect, give up a first-round pick, make a run for it this year while they've got everybody under contract, where they got everybody. They're poised to do that. And there's been some talk about Matt Duchene. There's been some talk about even Panarin that they believe that they have the cap room. Would Cheveldayoff, if Nashville does that, counter that move? Because I mean, that's their main competition in the Central.
Say that again, Mike.
I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff will go into an arms race. I think he will look at what makes his team better for the right reasons. So there's some rumors going around. One of them is that they have scouts looking at teams, and I've heard this from sort of a person who's got a connection, hasn't been totally wrong on some things and has been closer to right than more people, that they've been going around, and some of the teams they've been looking at have some players that might have an extra year of term. So which speaks to a lot of moving parts, right?
Right.
So that might be, and maybe they felt that with the success they had with Stastny, that he would have stayed. And if they have another guy with term, they got another chance to do it, given the roster they have. So they don't want to take the risk of losing for nothing,
Right.
thinking, and maybe that's sort of the bit that stings a little bit, feeling they really were going to be able to keep Stastny, and they didn't. So maybe they want to get someone with another year on there. I don't know.
Which is the same philosophy that Dubas practiced with Muzzin. It's like, okay, we're going to give up a first-round pick. We're going to give up a good good forward prospect in Grundstrom. We want to get and a defensive prospect in Jersey. We want to get somebody who's not just going to help us for 2 months.
Yeah.
He's going to help us for 2 playoff runs, and maybe even more if they can convince Muzzin to sign a contract, and stay with Toronto for another couple years. So, I mean, that's only good sense. I mean, I think that the ship is sort of, it's sort of past now where everybody's going to just continue to ramp up unless it's an offer for a rental, unless it's a very special rental like a Panarin. If it's a Panarin, then
I think GMs are getting wise to what the value of draft picks are too. One, trading for them and getting a 25th or below is essentially just getting a high second round pick.
Correct.
Right.
But also there's GMs who are also learning that if I've got a pick in that 12 to 24 area, if my scouts and my team are doing it right, I can still get a really good player in there and someone that can be on my roster in 2 to 3 years that is serviceable and I have control over, versus giving out a rental.
Well, it's interesting, and Ack wrote about this in his blog today. Is sort of like the post Muzzin fallout, and one of the teams that there was. I mean, and there may still be potential because you don't know what Vancouver is going to be or where they're going to be on February 25th. But right now, Alex Edler was supposed to be one of the defensemen who might have been traded out of Vancouver. But the Canucks are in the playoff race right now, and according to I think it was Ian McIntyre from Sportsnet, who is reporting that Benning is concentrating on trying to sign Edler to an extension. Now, if they can't get, it's sort of similar to Panarin in the sense, if they can't get him signed before February 25th and they start to fall back a little bit, does that change? Do they say, okay, we're going to trade you? Or I know that Edler has some sort of no trade or no move protection, but he could sign back in Vancouver next summer. I mean, why wouldn't you explore that? I mean, you want to keep him, but you also want to get as much as you can for him too.
Yeah. And I think, someone like Edler is a player who there's still an appetite for in the market. I don't know how many opportunities you're going to have to trade in Alex Edler and like players like him in the future, because again, teams are getting smarter. They're looking at this, and you might not be able to capitalize on this again because
I don't know. They did what teams did with Hamhuis late in his career. They probably can with Edler too.
Yeah, that's a point. That's a good point, but not for maybe. I mean, what's Edler going to get you? A high second?
Yeah, but I mean, at that time, it's probably good. I think right now,
if you look at Vancouver, that's exactly what they should be acquiring.
I don't know.
I think they're going to keep Edler based on what
I think they are too.
They're probably going to keep him, but honestly, though, I mean, look at the UFA rental market in terms of defensemen. Carlson's not getting moved. Gardner, I think the Leafs should address that and maybe do it, but they probably won't. They'll probably consider an own rental. Anton Strawman's not moving. Then it's Bouwmeester, Nicholas Kronwall, and Edler. I mean, it's not a great market. So if there's a team that needs a defenseman out there, and I think Edler's a top 4, they could probably get a low first. They probably could. So, yeah. but that's the whole thing. It's like,
but what's Edler's cost? Did we say that already?
His salary, I think he's in the 4s.
Yeah, he's so worth it. Like he's staying.
Well, I mean, it depends on what he's going to get on an extension. I mean.
Yeah, but he'll still be reasonable. He's not a superstar, but he's not a lower level guy either. He's one of those mid guys that has.
He's at $5 million even. That's his salary.
Yeah, he's going to still be reasonable on his next deal too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to Panarin for our GM game here, because I've heard two things about Panarin, and one will lead us into our little prospect thing that we've been doing, and the other one has been out there for about 24 hours, and I don't know how realistic it is. It's just everybody is talking about the Bruins and Panarin and putting two and two together, and the fact that the Bruins are looking for a left winger for their second line with Krejci and DeBrusk to take some offensive pressure off of the Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak line, and Panarin would be a perfect fit for that. And I would grant you that it would be, and I think that teams like Tampa and Toronto would be a little afraid if they actually got Panarin as a secondary offensive weapon. But what would the Bruins have to give up to get Panarin? I'll play Jarmo Kekalainen.
All right,
you play Don Sweeney.
I'll be Don Sweeney.
Okay, so
he's much smarter than I am. He's a Harvard grad. I'm not.
Well, Jarmo is a lot more Finnish than I am.
Okay.
So okay. So what are you looking for? What are you? I mean, what are you willing to offer me for Panarin?
Okay, for Artemi Panarin, I will give you Jack Studnicka, Danton Heinen, and a fourth round pick to make you feel warm at night.
All right. First of all,
that's my opening offer.
It's your opening offer. It's an insult, but it's an opening offer. Now, I think that first of all, he's going to want a player off of the NHL roster.
Dan Heinen's on the roster.
Dan Heinen is on the NHL roster. I would prefer Jake DeBrusk, but
DeBrusk is an untouchable, so go for someone.
DeBrusk is an untouchable, so I think he's going to want a first round pick.
I might be willing to do a conditional first. That's fine.
Conditional first and a grade A level prospect. So we're talking three pieces for Panarin. It's gonna hurt.
The other two pieces, and then I'll counter you.
It's gonna hurt if it's the Bruins to get Panarin. They're gonna have to give up something that they probably don't want to give up. I would say, let's see, Trent Frederick, a first round pick. And I'd be willing to take Heinen, but I think they would probably want something more than Heinen.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'll give you the first. I'm going to pull back Frederick. And why don't I give you – I'll give you Studnicka and I'll give you Vakanainen. That's it, though. That's my final offer.
I actually think that Jarmo would do that, because with Ryan Murray – up as an RFA, and with Werenski as an RFA, the price tag is going to go up, and Vakanainen's an NHL defense. He could plug Vakanainen into his NHL lineup and trade a David Savard and save money.
And I'm only giving you Studnicka because I'm figuring you don't want Forsback or Carlson or Bjork, because they haven't really, even Donato hasn't really proved anything yet. Studnicka is the hot commodity.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I think that Jarmo would want somebody for the NHL roster, but if he got two high prospects,
Vakanainen could be on the NHL roster,
right? But I'm talking about a forward to sort of replace Panarin in the top.
Well, he's got a forward. They already have a forward. They're not really utilizing right in Sonny Milano, and he could.
Yeah, but they're not utilizing him for a reason, Russ, because Sonny Milano doesn't fit what Tortorella has in mind in terms of an NHL forward.
I guess he did when he had 14 goals last year.
Right, but if he's not playing him now, then
give it another go. You know what I mean? Like that's something that might have to happen, because he's almost a point a game in the A. I mean, you have to give him another look.
Yeah. Now, okay, let's flip that, and it being the Islanders, because I know that Ack has mentioned the Islanders and Panarin, and I guess I'll stick being Jarmo and Peter. Do you want to be Lou Lamoriello, or do you have too much hair?
I'll take a stab at it, but man, this could be tough.
Okay. So I mean, I'll make the opening gambit here. If I'm Jarmo and I'm talking to the Islanders, I want your first round pick.
Yeah.
I probably want one of your guys that you took in the first round last year, which is either Dobson or Wahlstrom. Although Russ, when we talk about the prospects, I know that Russ has said Wahlstrom's not having a good year this year, so I would probably lean toward Dobson, and then I'd want an Anthony Beauvillier, somebody who could play, is in the NHL right now, who's showing that he can do something.
And he's an RFA next year, so you could sign him to a nice deal, but it's not going to break you.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be what I'd be asking for.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad ask.
Okay.
I'd probably, I don't know the Flyers or the Islanders prospects that well, but I'd probably say, I'd probably try and Jedi you and say, the perfect coach for Josh Ho-Sang is Tortorella.
Oh my God.
But who else are you throwing in there?
And give you a Ho-Sang and try and reduce it to a second.
No, he's not doing that.
No, because
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Islanders prospects very
well. That's fine. I'll work it for you.
Okay. Yeah, Russell B. David Conti here.
Yeah, Ho-Sang's not a bad idea.
No,
I mean, in addition to other guys, like I'm just saying, take the first.
I just think Ho-Sang and Tortorella is. It strikes me up. It's like Nagasaki. It could be like an atomic explosion.
Oh. Yeah, Krakatoa, Mount Torts.
Yeah, no, that's potentially really bad.
But you know what? But you don't know that. I mean, I would do. They might take someone like Ho-Sang, Dobson, and a conditional first if you sign him. Now, if they don't want Ho-Sang, that's fine. I'll pull him back.
And the first becomes a second if he's a rental.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head forward-wise. See, I don't think Wahlstrom – I mean, I'll give you Wahlstrom if you want him. I mean, I'll give you Wahlstrom.
I think that's close. Especially since I think you're getting the one with the Islanders because I think Panarin would sign there. I think there's no way Lou makes the deal unless he didn't think he had a better than 50-50 chance of signing him to an extension.
Yeah. Now, what might happen in that is – if I'm giving you Wahlstrom, I'm probably going to pull Dobson back and probably put Bodie Wild in there instead.
Okay, let's
That's
go.
What I would do.
Let's go from this to
here's the offer. So it's Bodie Wild,
Wahlstrom,
and a conditional first.
I'd probably want either Beauvillier or Dobson in instead of one of those guys.
No, I'll give you Beauvillier. I'm not going to give you Dobson. I'll give you Beauvillier and Wild and a conditional first. I mean, Wild's more than a point a game in the OHL this year.
I think they would probably do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, talking about the Islanders, because it's very possible they're going to make some sort of deal before the deadline. We talked about it on previous shows. They've got a couple UFAs. We don't know if they're going to keep them. I think they're going to trade Eberle. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if that means they're going to trade also Brock Nelson or Anders Lee. I think they're buyers and sellers. But if they're buying, Russ, who do you think are the guys they avoid trying to trade? Dobson would be one of them.
Yeah, I think Dobson they would avoid trying to trade. I think the only way they're trading Wild is if there's somebody so good like a Panarin and they really believe they could sign him that maybe they would throw him in there because he's just been tremendous. I mean, I was always a big fan of Bodie Wild because not only could he bring the puck up and have a physical edge, but he also has a really good shot and good offensive ability. The downside for Bodie Wild was maybe we get a little too crazy sometimes with passes and occasional turnovers, but he seems to have reeled it in this year. Dobson, as an example, though, right now he's a point a game. He got traded to Rwanda, and he's a point a game. I knowing that he is a guy that when he's 6'3" and he's still under 190 pounds, or he's right at 190, he's going to come in at 210 someday, and I'm not giving that up. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen something that was so clear by just seeing somebody at the draft combine last June. Yeah. I looked at Dobson, I looked at Russ, and I said, he's got the frame. He just doesn't have he's going to need like 2 or 3 years of just like physical development and working with drinking protein shakes and putting on and adding muscle, because once he does that, but he just looked sort of waifish.
Yeah.
At the draft combine.
No, and I think that's fair. I think Kiefer Bellows is an untouchable not because of what his offensive output might be, but because he's a Trotz kind of guy. And if you're going to turn someone into Tom Wilson, it's Kiefer Bellows. And he fits.
Think he can be that? You think he can be that much of a physical?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Kiefer Bellows, when he hits you, man, it's a ton of bricks. And he's really strong already. And his skating is better, and he has a great shot.
He's not very tall, but he's like a fighter.
No, but he's really solid. Like he's not. I mean, he's 6'1", but he's over 200 pounds already, and really knows how to check. So, I think you can't trade Kiefer Bellows based on that. Plus, Clutterbuck's getting older, so somebody's got to replace that role, and Kiefer Bellows is probably that guy. I think it's interesting about Robin Salo. I think you might be able to get Robin Salo because he's from the previous regime. Mm-hmm. And there's some things to like about him, but, he is only 20. He's still playing overseas. He's not your typical offensive defenseman. He is not that, but he's more of a defensive defenseman, and he is a good skater. He's played in World Juniors and such. I like him. So I think that's a guy you could get from him. I do think you can get Beauvillier from him if it's someone like Panarin, but only if it's someone like that, because otherwise they have him under control. They don't want to necessarily give up a guy with offensive scoring ability that is under their control to get a guy for a big contract,
We'll take a few questions in the chat. Just a little news that just came over the wire. Antoine Vermette is retiring after 14 seasons. He was a free agent and didn't get any bites. Yeah, didn't get any offers. And the funny thing was, is like he was one of the guys that when I was like suggesting a fourth line center possibility for the Leafs, it was Vermette strictly on his face-off ability. He's like a 60% face-off guy last year. It was unbelievable.
I don't know. He's a great face-off guy. I think he just slowed down too much.
Yeah, he slowed down to the point where, he just couldn't keep up with the pace. But, there's somebody who would make a second career out of being a roving face-off coach to NHL teams. He really could. Because
Vermette had 17 goals in 2015-16 with the Coyotes.
Yeah. It's opportunity, Peter. Like that team had so much ice time and power play time to give them.
That's true.
He was playing basically second line center for them. Yeah. So he got a lot of opportunity, but. Yeah, and so, good career. He played with the Senators, Blue Jackets, Coyotes, Blackhawks, and Ducks. Good career. He won a Stanley Cup. So
very good career. I can't say anything bad. I like Vermette. It's just his time. So
all right.
Yeah.
Any questions, Russ?
All right. So Jonas asked, do Shanahan and Dubas pull all the strings possible to sign Adam Fox? He really seems like a Dubas-type player. I think pulling all the strings first has to mean that Adam Fox either comes out and says he's not going to sign with Carolina.
Right.
And this is only after he decides he's going to turn pro. And the problem with it is he doesn't know where he's at. So there's no way the Leafs could have a plan for Adam Fox yet, because Adam Fox doesn't have a plan for Adam Fox yet.
I agree with that, but in theory, what you're saying is, Adam Fox, wherever he's going to go, is going to sign for an entry level deal. It'll probably be, I think the
not
max.
Yes, even if
it has to be.
True.
It'll probably be. I think for college free agents, the max is 2 years. So you're talking a contract $925,000, where the difference is, and this is where teams will get the advantage or disadvantage, is offering the Schedule A and Schedule B bonuses. And
or the other advantage is if Carolina says, hey, if you're done with Harvard, you can come up this year, play like the last 10 games of the year. We'll burn a year of your
deal. Right. But that's you're looking, and there's been instances in the past where players, and I'll use Zach Hyman as an example. Zach Hyman was drafted as a center
Yep.
He played for University of Michigan. He was drafted by Florida, I think in the 5th round. And he looked at Florida's depth chart at center with Trocheck, with Barkov, with Nick Bukestad. I think this was before they drafted Borgstrom. So, and he said, I'm never going to make the NHL playing for Florida. So he decided he was, after his senior year at Michigan, that he was going to turn pro, and that he was, or obviously turn pro after his senior year, and that he wasn't going to sign with them because his opportunity wasn't there. And then the Leafs ended up trading for his draft rights. I think Greg McKagan, a low round draft pick, but he saw opportunity with the Leafs. Now there are other teams out there that need defense
By the way,
just as much as Toronto.
I don't like what you're saying about my friend Greg McKagan. I put a nice picture up online with me and Greg when I was interviewing him, showing people I could be nice to a Leaf, and here you are disparaging a buddy of mine.
He's a former Leaf, so I have no care for him whatsoever now. No, just kidding, Greg. No, but what I'm saying is that players are looking at opportunity with the organizations that have their rights. And Adam Fox, if he looks at right now with the Hurricanes, with Slavin, Falk, Jake Bean, Dougie Hamilton, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Hayden Fleur, they're so loaded with defense. I mean, he may have to spend a year or two in the American Hockey League before they think or at least a year. Whereas with other teams at 21 or 22 years old, they may say, you're ready to, we'll give you that shot at the NHL right now. And Toronto probably would be one of those teams. I think Buffalo and other teams would be, there's a lot of teams out there looking for defense. So yes, I think the difference will be opportunity and the fact that the team will offer them bonuses, Schedule A and Schedule B bonuses, but he'll be very popular. He'll be as popular as Will Butcher.
Yeah. All right. So next one, and there's a bunch of guys. I mean, I've already named 3 this year. There could be 4 or 5 really good players, but I don't know if they're all going to happen this year. So I'll be watching for that.
That'll be what we talk about in August on the Buzzcast.
Yeah, Robert wants to know if the Flyers trade Simmons to Nashville, what would the return be? I think you could get Kevin Fiala, and Grant Mismash, and maybe like a conditional second, or Fiala and a guaranteed first. That I think you could get Wayne Simmons for that.
Now, do you think Fiala is somebody that the Flyers would want, or would they?
Yeah, because I think you could put Fiala with Claude Giroux, and I think you'd have a little magic there.
Instead of, do you think
that would be my way of Mike easing out Jake Voracek in the summer if I can?
Okay, because there are some people who think that Fiala has proven he is what he is at the NHL level, and a guy like Tolvanen
at 22, I can't say that.
I know, but I'm just saying what I've heard from other commentators.
Yeah,
and that Tolvanen has got more upside, and teams would probably prefer Tolvanen because he's an unknown commodity.
The thing about Tolvanen, he's always had a shot, and he's a one-dimensional guy. So that shot, it's a little bit like Patrick Laine, but Laine obviously is bigger and physical. But Tolvanen, if he's not scoring, he's not helping you. He's a good skater, but he doesn't play defense, and he's not really helping you. You saw in the World Juniors, and I got questioned by our own chat room, and all I can say to you is when I said he wasn't an elite scorer, because he didn't have a good World Juniors, did he?
Right, he didn't.
And so he has to really get that shot back. If he doesn't, you've got nothing, and that's why I don't think the Flyers would go for him.
Okay, next question.
Carson wants to know, Ferland to Pittsburgh or Nashville, what would the deal look like? Pittsburgh would not want Ferland. I don't think either team would want him. I think Ferland's been exposed here, and I think teams are going to be very leery of getting him. And those two teams have enough guys that I think Ferland wouldn't add much to them other than size.
Peter, the Alexiak deal that was made a few days ago, everybody's assuming, and it makes sense, that Rutherford is prepping to make some other deal because he cleared $2.1 million in salary. And ironically, Russ, I didn't know about this until I listened to Steve Dangle's podcast yesterday. The draft pick that Dallas sent to Pittsburgh was the exact same draft pick that Pittsburgh sent to Dallas. So it was essentially like they rented him for a year for nothing.
Yeah, you borrowed $10, you paid it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think
American, not like I borrowed from Peter and he paid me back in Canadian. I want to be clear about that.
I think.
Ouch, Russ. Ouch.
Yeah. Jeez. Hey, that means when we're buying him dinner in Vancouver in June, it'll be
I'm
like
buying him dinner anyhow. It doesn't matter.
at a 70% discount. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No,
I
but,
know. I can't wait to show you where we're going.
Yeah. but this is the thing. I don't think that the crying need for the Penguins is a forward. I think the need is on defense. And we're talking, they may be trading Brassard to, they're possibly clearing out. They may be making themselves a little thin up front, but I think that they really need a defenseman, and that's why, Russ and I were speculating like somebody like Shattenkirk, but I think that they're going after a defenseman. I think that Rutherford is aiming to add on the blue line with, who knows when Justin Schultz is coming back. I heard he's skating, but I don't know if that's the case. Mata has not been the guy. I think they're looking for a defenseman.
Like, I want to just give you an example, like with Nashville. Right now, we know what's happening with Austin Watson, but let's say he gets things cleared up and he comes back. Is Michael Ferland much better than Austin Watson? I mean, he's got a few more goals.
I think he's a better scorer, Russ.
But not a lot. Not a lot.
Well, I can tell you that that the talk about Ferland is that he's going to get they're going to get at least a first-round pick and a prospect for him. They're talking about Ferland in the same breath as Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, it's not even close. Michael Ferland has 3 goals in 13 games in the playoffs, and Austin Watson has 9 goals. Hold on, I just lost the page. Has 9 goals in 35 games. So really, Michael Ferland is less of a goal scorer in the playoffs than Austin Watson.
Peter, if you're Rutherford, are you going after a Ferland, or are you going to bolster your blue line?
Sorry, say that again, please.
If you're Jim Rutherford, are you going after Ferland, or are you going after somebody to bolster your blue line? Pittsburgh.
Maybe both. I don't know if he has the
assets. But they don't have the cap space.
Yeah, they don't have the cap space. I think given what they've done in the past, where if they can split up and have the right complementary pieces between Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel, they can run their 3 forward lines well. So he's probably going to go with blue line.
Okay,
all right. Next question from Esmir. Would the Isles look at Goldobin from Vancouver? I don't think so. Even though Esmir thinks he would fit in Trotz's system, I'm not so sure about that just yet. At this point, Trotz really hasn't shown me the ability to want to teach a lot of young players right now. And he's got a pretty veteran team there. I don't think he's going to take a guy who you could say, hey, Barry, he'll develop into your system. I just don't think he wants to deal with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll save this for tomorrow. There was a statement that was just released that I don't want to talk about it without going into it. We're at the end of the show, and I don't want to go down the road about Pierre Maguire last night. But Kendall Coyne came out with a statement. I think basically covering for Pierre, because Pierre looked pretty bad last night. But I think we should talk about that tomorrow.
That's fine.
Any more questions, Russ? One more.
Yeah, Esmir asked, would Talbot fit in Toronto?
No,
I don't think they would give up the assets that it would be required to get him, and they certainly aren't going to retain him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. This is where Ack and I will disagree, because Ack has gone down this road that he's only reporting what he's hearing, but I think whoever is telling him that the Leafs are interested in Talbot, that guy knows nothing.
One more question, because it's for Peter. Julian wants to know what Peter thinks of Brossoit, because I answered the question last time because Peter fell offline. So, Peter, if you could answer that.
What I think of him, I think he is a very strong goalie. I think he and that's by accounts of what we've heard from the team. He's physically, he's a big, strong guy. He's hard to move off the posts. I think there are going to be teams that look at him. I think there will be one or two teams that look at him and think he can be a starter solution, which would be a mistake. I think it's the teams that know they have a guy who's going to be out in the next year or two need to bring him in and I think he's going to get paid, and there will be someone very happy about him. But they're going to want to see if it's repeatable.
Let me ask you one last thing about him, Peter. In that game against the Flyers, I don't know if you saw it, there was a chance he had to make a glove save, and he flubbed it so bad he literally put the rebound right on a Flyers stick, and it didn't go in, but it could have. Does that happen to him once in a while? Does he hit with his glove?
Russ, he's only played 13 games, so it's hard by memory.
People just look at the record. You can't just look at the record.
I thought he was actually fighting the puck a little bit in the Flyers game.
He was.
And a lot of credit to the Flyers. They were pushing the play hard.
They were pushing the play.
And stuff. So I think he still played well. I mean, I think that game could have been a 5-1 win for the Flyers if it wasn't for Brossoit. So, I think a credit to him to keep it where it was, but yikes, it's glove hands are something a lot of guys want to test out, and sometimes you're going to have a good glove, sometimes you're not. But I mean, he is a solid guy in front. His positioning is so sound, and
his positioning I thought was real good.
Yeah, there'll be a couple teams who definitely want to take him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say, Hellebuck's save on Marchand in the shootout was incredible. Right along the goal line, got the left pad out there, stopped it. That was a great save. One last note here. Jake Muzzin, practicing his first time with the Maple Leafs, is playing left defense alongside Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley is shifting over to the right side. I don't know if that's what's going to happen against Detroit tomorrow, but Daryl Sutter apparently was right, because Daryl Sutter said he had never played him on the right side, and he's played very little on the right side. So, what the Leafs have done is they've gotten themselves a top 4, and they're going to move things around and experiment a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see.
And actually, and just to follow up, Julian said, thanks, Peter, because he thinks that Eric Comrie will be up next year. I don't see why not.
I do.
I mean, just to give him a look.
If they can keep Brossoit for another year, it'll be.
But you got to see what he looks like in camp, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say this: Comrie probably, if he doesn't sign there, or if he isn't the backup in Winnipeg with the dearth of backup goaltenders, he may have a job elsewhere, because there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
All right. Good show, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Peter Tessier, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.